A very warm welcome to IDFC FIRST Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Today we'll be deep diving into India's energy and mobility space and also put a spotlight on India's fragrance market. In the first segment, I'll be chatting with Vikramadithya Gourineni, Executive Director at Amara Raja Batteries and Managing Director of Amara Raja Power Systems Limited and Amara Raja Electronics. In the second segment, I'll be chatting with Arjun Ranga, Managing Director, Cycle Pure Agarbatti. I'm now joined live by Vikram. Vikram, thank you so much for being on Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thanks for having me, Ritwika.
So, Vikram, to begin with, tell us what is your current perspective on the EV space and how is that impacting the demand for lithium-ion batteries?
That's a great question. Actually, this morning I was just reviewing some of the latest numbers with the team. And I think the first takeaway I had was that we're actually quite further along in India than we think we are. And if you look at the global, the leaders, the biggest markets in the world, which are China at 6 million EVs on the road each year, US is about 2 million, Europe is also quite high. India's already crossed 1 million vehicles per year if we look at last year's data. And I think that if we look at specific segments that we at Amara Raja are quite kicked up about, which is urban mobility, light and local mobility, especially looking at our two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and a small car segment, I think we're staring at what could be mobile phone 2.0. We know that when smartphones came out in India, it was looking at like an aspirational purchase, but within, less than a generation, every Indian had a phone in their hands, and that it's becoming, it continues to grow. So in terms of EVs, I think our market size will always look small because our typical vehicle, the predominant use vehicle, a two-wheeler, is much smaller. But in terms of number of EVs on the road, I think actually we'll be looking at becoming a number 2 market in the world, probably before the end of this decade.
Sure. And with the increasing popularity of electric vehicles, tell me what are the key opportunities do you see for EV battery manufacturers in the country?
If we really look from a battery and the entire ecosystem as a build out, if we focus on these segments, our two-wheelers, our three-wheelers, I think not only can we cater to our own demands, but we can actually be a global center of excellence is exporting this capability to many parts of the world.
At this point, if you could share some insights into Amara Raja's future plans, especially when it comes to lithium-ion batteries, what can you tell us?
Sure. So when we started looking at this segment a couple of years ago, the first thing we did is we take a pretty holistic look at our existing business, and I think we're quite strong there today. As an automotive supplier, we supply all OEMs around the country. And as an industrial supplier, all major applications, telecom, UPS, we're either number 1 or number 2, and into all segments. So when we talk about new segments and new technologies that are coming in, like lithium, sodium, some of the other ones that are on the horizon, we always look at what are the threats that they present to our existing business as well as the opportunities. And overall, I think while there is some areas where our existing battery business is seeing threat of new technologies, for the most part, technologies like lithium are actually enabling new market segments for us that we can go in. And as you rightly pointed out, electric mobility and energy storage are quite exciting for us. In terms of our investments, we have talked about a phase 1 investment getting into this new battery space. We're investing almost 10,000 crores in the state of Telangana. And phase 1 of that, which we'll be doing through the next 1.5 years, this looks at 3 things that we're looking at specifically. The first is looking at building our pack facility. This would be predominantly catering to some of these segments like telecom, two-wheeler and three-wheeler, where we already have existing customers and we'll continue to expand our presence there. And what we do is as we expand our pack business, this also gives us an opportunity to expand our ability to provide other products into the same customer, chargers, power electronics, our BMS, which we're also developing in parallel. Obviously, of the 10,000 crore investment, the largest by far is going to come from our cell business. Lithium cell manufacturing will be quite, requiring a lot of financial resources. And in that, our first focus, 2 gigawatt hour manufacturing, which will also be coming up around June 2025, is to actually focus predominantly on this light and local mobility. So the two-wheeler segment is something that we'll be looking to cater to initially. And then as we step up into new cell formats, looking at three-wheeler passenger vehicle and all the rest of the products as well.
Could you also outline some of the challenges that the lithium-ion industry is currently facing and how Amara Raja is addressing them?
Sure. So I think the number one challenge a lot of people like to point out is the supply chain and the material availability. I'd like to talk a minute about this, but I actually would also like to say it's not the major challenge or the number one challenge in my personal opinion. At Amara Raja, we believe that we have to patiently scale. That's the approach when it comes to supply chain. The fact is, whether it's the United States, the Europeans, or even us as Indians, large parts of the world are going to be dependent on a Chinese supply chain to first start their electrification journey when it comes to EVs, lithium-ion batteries. And that's for no other reason than they've been a lot more proactive at building out the supply chain. They've been doing it for decades, and we've been doing it for hardly years. So when it comes to supply chain, I think if I draw a parallel to when we built out a lead acid supply chain in this country, lead acid battery supply chain, the fact was when we started out, despite having industry incumbents, we were importing nearly 60-70% of our raw materials during that time because there was no mature supply chain. But fast forward to the present, a couple of decades later, and the import quantity in one of our batteries today is minimal. It's less than 10 to 15%, and that's because we have been able to be patient. We've been able to today 70% of the lead that we source is coming from within the country, and all other materials that we require for our batteries within the country. The batteries are 99% recycled. So it takes time to build out a rich ecosystem, but it's something that I think can be happening. It will happen. It will repeat in lithium. It may take its time. So we need to be talking to suppliers, looking at long-term contracts, and working and possibly even giving a premium to some suppliers who are willing to localize so that we can get the local material started. But coming to what I think are the major challenges, and this is not only unique to Amara Raja or India, but it's going to be talent and technology. The fact is, technology today is held by very few players, largely East Asian players in Korea, Japan, China, and even the Europeans and the Americans are having trouble to build out their own, separate technology bases. So technology in India is something that we're quite aware that in the longer term, we have to be independent. We have to build our own capabilities, but it's not something we can do overnight. So we're working with a number of players around the world for manufacturing know-how. We're working with people for specific manufacturing processes, cell technology, chemistry. I think we're working with a large group of players, and over a period of time, we want to in-house this capability and build out large teams that can actually handle this. And if we look at any single player in China, they have 1,000+ R&D engineers working on multiple technologies at once. But that's not something that can happen overnight. So a 5 to 10 year journey on R&D minimum is required. When it comes to talent, I can't say that we've answered this question, but the fact is all over the world, there's a talent shortage in this segment. And this is something that every country is fighting for. And many of the companies around the world that are working in lithium chemistry, they have been able to attract Indians and many out of our country. So first, how do we stop the brain drain? How do we encourage young Indians to take this up? And how do we start working industry with academic institutions to make sure that the type of skills, the type of know-how that's required is building up in-house domestically over the next 10 years?
Vikram, our show Leaders of Tomorrow caters to a lot of MSMEs, and with the increasing growth of the lithium-ion industry impacting various industries, including the MSME sector, what is your take on, how it is going to actually affect the smaller businesses, the MSMEs? What kind of impact it will have on the supply chain?
I think the role of MSMEs, if we look at the role of MSMEs in general through auto ancillaries over the years, has been phenomenal. The fact is, one of the few industries that we as a country have been able to scale to global competitive levels is the auto industry. And a large part of that is because we've been able to bring pretty much the entire auto ancillary ecosystem into the country. And that a lot of that has been driven by MSMEs. I think at any given time, medium scale entrepreneurs in this country have been very proactive, going out of the world and stitching the right technology alliances to bring products into the Indian market. And it's something that we should encourage if it means that battery suppliers like Amara Raja or even OEMs in the country have to pay a premium to give them the right start in the early days. That's something that we should be willing to do.
And before I let you go, my final question to you, how do you see your company really playing a part in accelerating the growth, India's transition into a low carbon economy? What can you tell us?
If we look at the benefits of bringing things like renewable energy, electric vehicles, these are not going to be felt overnight. These are going to be felt over a longer period of time. Because if I take just the battery industry, in the short term, we have to open up new mining capacity around the world that's not been there before. So that'll add to the carbon footprint. We have to, the lithium battery production requires far more energy, far more water than the existing predominant technologies like lead acid batteries. Recycling it has not been well established. It's more expensive, more power intensive. All of these things take time. And once you have electric vehicles on the road, the demand for power is only going to increase. And at any given time over the next several decades, the demand for power in India is not going to decrease. It's going to increase exponentially, because even if we put aside new things that are electrifying, like vehicles and other industrial processes, the fact is, even to get to bare minimum, development, even among the BRICS countries today, India has a very low per capita energy consumption. So even that has to increase. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is the fact that as we embrace new challenges like bringing in lithium-ion battery technology, electric vehicles to the country, there's enough challenge as it is, like we talked about, supply chain, talent, technology, that if we also tie it to sustainability goals, I feel that we're actually hamstringing ourselves in a way. We have to first prove out technology, prove out that these products can be successful on Indian road conditions before we can also start saying, I need to tie this to clean energy goals and carbon output. Because if we tie all this at once, I feel that we're not going to be competitive to countries like China, which are not necessarily focusing on environment and sustainability in the same way that we would be. With that said, there are some non-negotiables, I think, from the private sector. We can never it can never be negotiated. It should be, absolutely sacrosanct that we cannot pollute our water. We cannot, air pollution cannot be accepted. So the basic minimums of a pollution control board, they can even be enhanced. We need to make sure that no industry in this country is, polluting the environment in an irreparable manner.
Well, all the very best to you. It was good chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ritwika.
On that note, it's time for a quick commercial break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching IDFC FIRST Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. In this segment, the spotlight is on Cycle Pure Agarbatti. I'm now joined live by Arjun Ranga, Managing Director, Cycle Pure Agarbatti. Thank you, Arjun, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
So to begin with, Arjun, tell us a little bit about your family business, which dates back to 1948. Talk to us about your journey, really, throughout these years. What can you tell us?
Definitely. I think the true entrepreneur in the family is my grandfather, Sri N. Rangarao. He was born pre-independence in the year 1908. And around the time when India got independence in 1947, that's when he actually decided to start our business and started the incense business of Mysore, because Mysore was kind of the cultural capital in those days and was known for fine fragrances and culture, art. He came to Mysore, was a very spiritual man, and so he started the Agarbatti business in 1948. Then the journey began, and I think because he was very well-read, he believed in doing the right thing every single time. He said, I need to create a core competence, and started doing fragrance creation. Once he started fragrance creation, I think the market just picked up our products, and the rest is history after.
And talking about recent developments, you have now ventured into the D2C space. So talk to us, about some of your strategic reasons for venturing into the D2C sector. What are the key opportunities do you see in this space?
Innovation has always been kind of the cornerstone of our organization, and more so to be close to the consumer whenever possible. So grandfather actually started to create our own distribution network, and father and uncles built that in the 1970s. And today we have a very robust FMCG distribution network where we have about 2,000 company sales employees who service close to 5,000 distributors, and we go directly to over 8 lakh retail outlets in India. So we have the distribution reach. But we also believe that we need to give our consumers a whole array of products. And with the advent of e-commerce and newer opportunities, direct-to-consumer opportunities and e-commerce became a reality for us, more so after COVID. So we have a host of different brands in the umbrella of Cycle, under the umbrella of Cycle, and we position each brand for a certain need in the market to take care of consumer requirements. As an Agarbatti company, we were predominantly manufacturing incense sticks till about the year 2000. And after that, we saw that fragrance and fragrance trends started to increase in India. We launched a brand called Iris, which is today probably the biggest home fragrance lifestyle product. It is a creation of the of Ranga of our company. So Iris was one of the first companies to actually go D2C, because it is a lifestyle product. Post Iris, we then have Leah as functional air care products, where we have room fresheners, car fresheners, scented candles, potpourri, and all of that. And once we got Leah on board, then we then got the spiritual products. And in spiritual products, we have a whole array of products, right from your puja room all the way up to puja accessories and necessities for daily use, which comes under the brand name of Om Shanti. So we then created an option for puja room and puja room accessories under the brand name of pujaroom.com. So we created a host of different products, and each of these products were positioned for a certain need and a certain action within the home, taking care of consumer requirements. So we have a host of brands now. Each of them have a different purpose. And most recently, we've realized that post-COVID, people are looking at natural products, something that is closer to nature. So we launched a whole range of camphor-based products under the brand name of Karpure, Karpure, which also goes right from home fragrances all the way up to home diffusion and everything else.
Arjun, you have also played a significant role in expanding the business of NR Group, right? Which also earned you the EPCH Exports Gold Award. So tell us more about this, and how do you think international markets, have played a role in the overall growth of the brand? And what advice would you have for entrepreneurs, who are looking to venture globally?
I think one of the biggest lessons for me is that as Cycle, we don't have a different export quality. What we make in India is the best quality, and that's what we export as well. And that's been one of the key success factors for us. The second key aspect has been we followed Indian tradition and culture. And whenever Indian tradition and culture became mainstream in any country, we were right there as a brand to look at the opportunity. For example, around the late 90s, yoga, Ayurveda, and spirituality started to take a big influence in the West. And that's when we also rode the wave of the entire Eastern culture and ambience. And today, South America and North America, are one of the biggest growing markets for us. So I think being Indian, communicating what Indianness is, and creating fine fragrances is one of the key success factors for us to be present in 75 countries. But beyond that, I think customizing fragrances to an extent so that the local palate accepts it is a key differentiator also. I'm a perfumer myself. My father was a perfumer before me, and so was my grandfather. So this is a family secret passed down from generation to generation. And today, as a perfumer, for me, it's exciting for me to create fragrances for different parts of the world, and that's how I also keep my creative juices going.
Sure. So Arjun, the theme for our show this season is Ideas for New India. Tell me, what are some of your big ideas or the trends, that are impacting India's fragrance market, and how is your brand adapting to these trends?
So Cycle predominantly creates the trends. We don't follow trends. So we try to be ahead of the market. So I attend international exhibitions to look at how the fragrance trends are. And the fragrance trends globally then trickle down into consumer product trends as well, typical of how it is in most of the FMCG products. So to be aware of what's happening, to be aware of how the fashion capitals of Paris, New York, London, Milan are doing, to understand what are the new textures that are coming into the market, which then trickle onto fragrances as well. You will also see a similar trend in soaps, detergents also happening. But Agarbatti is kind of ahead of that. And today, the trend is moving from woody, animalic notes to more floral, fresh, and citrus notes as well.
Considering the changing landscape of retail, be it, we spoke about D2C, there's e-commerce, and of course, India's fragrance market. Tell me, how are you capitalizing on these opportunities to really stay ahead of the game?
Typically in any regular retail store or in a modern trade outlet, you will see about 20 to 25 different SKUs from our company, but we produce about 300 different products in different SKUs. So we believe that the consumer needs to have the opportunity to explore all our products. And that's why we created our own standalone stores under the brand name of Cycle.in, which is kind of an omni-channel offering where you can also buy online and offline. You can order online, get deliveries done offline. Building the entire tech for the omni-channel experience in that. So we believed in the long term for consumer loyalty to grow, we need to actually give them an array of products and need to have an opportunity where they can walk in and feel and experience the products as well. And so we created standalone Cycle.in stores. I think constant innovation is the key. And beyond that, with the entire online and digital space, consumer insights has become a key differentiator for us. So we created a complete social listening platform where we constantly interact with our consumers to understand their level of brand loyalty, how are they considering the brand, shift from awareness to consideration. So we're trying to measure all of that to create the right product and to make it available at the right time for the consumer. So on one side, as a perfumer, we are right into home fragrancing. And other side, as a spiritual product, we are taking care of everyday needs for prayer and puja essentials as well. So we have Agarbatti right in the middle, which is a fragrance product and a prayer product. So creating this entire product basket and then positioning each of them to the consumer so that we are available for them during their entire journey during the day is what I'm working towards.
Well, all the very best to you. It was good chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ritwika.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of IDFC FIRST Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. We hope you enjoyed the conversations. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.